Good morning. How is everybody today? Oh, I suppose I should say good morning, shiners. And I forgot to do that. Let me adjust my microphone here a little bit. Good morning, Car Key, Zippity Doo Doug, and Mike Cabral, and Tina McNeil, and who else? I thought my wife was in here already. She said she was. It's good to see everybody. It's been a while. Feels like it's been a long while. And in case you wonder and don't know, the name is pronounced Chingachgook. By now, I'm sure most of you know who that is, besides myself, or besides a nickname for myself. So, how is everybody? Anybody got big plans for the day? I would normally probably be headed off to Allert today. Today is Tennessee's official state weigh-off for the giant pumpkin contest. I noticed a few states were having it last week. When I was out in Wyoming, I read an article somewhere, local paper, that there'd been a new record for. I don't know if it was a record growth in Wyoming or if it was in the weigh-off was in Utah. And that doesn't matter where you weigh in, and the pumpkin there they weighed was almost 1,800 pounds, 1,700 and a whole bunch, and that was a new record for out there. Hey Dave, welcome in. Good morning. Adventures by Dave has joined us. Basset hounds don't like rain. Uh-oh, is it raining? Mike, is it raining up your way? People are saying hi to Brenda, but I don't see Brenda. Where is my wife? She told me she was in here. She might have kicked herself out. She was here. She's trying something new today. So I don't know if she made it. It's still here or not. We're assuming she's Ninja White. Well, she may be. Or she could be having technical difficulties. Oh, lots of rain. Well, I'm sorry, Mike. Better than snow, though, eh? I don't think the Basset Hounds like snow either. Too much. At least not if it's over their heads. I'll tell you, I put a clean shirt on for you guys and everything. Oh, excuse me. So dogs that were bred to be outdoors don't like rain. That's right, Tina. Sometimes that happens. You might have to put little rain parkas on them or something. I don't know what the Germans in particular wore for, parkas. I don't know if they wore the like the yellow Mackinaw or if they wore something different. You might have to have a set made for the pups. Anything's better than snow, according to Mike. I didn't see any snow while I was out on my adventure, but I heard maybe on top of some mountains I saw some. But I'd heard there's already been some snow not too far from Mark's house, and that didn't make him happy. I mean, he likes, as much as he loves Wyoming and living out there, I think they had enough of a winter last year. There she is. while she couldn't get the chat to come up on her tablet. Well, use the chat on your phone and just watch the picture on the tablet. That would work. So I guess in a way she was ninja. Well, we had some rainy, breezy weather yesterday, but today it appears the Tim's chair weather forecast says, in my backyard at least, it is breezy and sunny and blue skies. And I think our high today is only supposed to be in the 60s. So yesterday we were in the 80s, and today we're down around 60. Tina says, well, Morgan has a cone of shame on at night, so I guess I could serve as an umbrella, but she wanted it off when she got up on the couch. What are you talking about, Mr. Fix-It-All? Trying to tell you how to do it? We have to turn on heat. We had to turn on heat this morning. I was up at 5 a.m. It was pretty cold and chill in the house. Well, just how cold was it, Mike? And let me get prepared here, because you can throw out the C degrees and I can convert really easily. Well, that is if I can find my... There it is. Karki says Dave and Chris have some great new videos, both scary and non-scary. Yeah, check those out, everybody. I haven't seen those yet. I'm -6. Boy, you make that sound really cold. That's 21 Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's brisk. But when you say -6, it sounds really cold. I think that's why people like to use Celsius. You guys, you like to make Canadians, Europeans, they like to make it sound worse, dramatic, worse than it is. It is cold. Okay, so that's cold. When it was, I'm sure I'm going to say this a lot this morning, but and when I was in Wyoming, it was, I think the first morning, and we'd been dealing with 90s. We had mid 90s when we were at the southern end of our trip, but I think the first morning we got home, or second morning, it was only 30 when I woke up. Mark has one of those home weather station things sitting in his living room right across from where I was sitting on the couch, and it was 30 degrees. Water freezes warmer than that. Good point, Tina. Good point. It's in the 60s even here in Atlanta. Yeah, the weather pattern I saw last night or this morning showed a big loop that came down all the way down to you guys, that it was going to be cool. Might even be frosty at night. They're talking about people covering up any sensitive plants they've got. We're at 47 here. Well, wouldn't it be nice though, Carol, to have a real fall? I mean, have the appropriate temperatures, and maybe get to go to the football games the rest of the season with a sweatshirt on or a jacket instead of shorts and a t-shirt and sweating like all get out. I do. I wish it would. Personally, I can remember getting up on. I swear I can remember getting up on Labor Day. So the first Monday in September when I was younger, and it being chilly, not cold, but chilly cold, like in the 50s, when we'd get up to go Labor Day squirrel hunting. I want to say I even remember frost, but that was probably Thanksgiving rabbit hunts. It was frosty. I'm hoping for nice weather next weekend so we can go to the farm and pick pumpkins. Oh boy. You should video that, Carol. I don't sweat at 80. 80's good. Oh my God, I do. It's 80s, upper 70s, especially the low 90s and 100s. Oh, California was hot again. I think the Bay Area was supposed to be in the mid to upper 90s, and Los Angeles and down in there, I think was supposed to be having a heat wave. So they're still warm. I don't know. That's hot for them. I know. When Brenda and I were in Los Angeles years ago, Disneyland, I remember it being pretty comfortable. I don't know, babe. Do you remember the temperatures? Oh yeah, Tina. 75 is that's way too warm for a lot of things. It's okay for just sitting and sipping a soda or watching a game on TV or something, but 75, you can't sleep at 75. That's way too hot. And ask Brenda because I used to be the hot blooded one here. I was always burning up, and she was usually cool or cold. And now she's got me freezing to death half the time. To keep the upstairs warm or cool enough for her, she's got the basement feels like a meat locker. Weather is great in LA. Traffic is rough. Yeah, that's what I thought, Dave. Um, but you know, it has been a little odd the last year or so. Like I said, I don't even remember what month we were out there, but the weather was nice. I like cold with a heavy. Oh, me too, Tina. That's the best. That's just the best sleeping. Heavy. I'd rather have it be cold as heck in the house and have lots of covers and a blanket or a quilt than have it hot and just laying there sweating out from under everything. I grew up that way. I have fond memories. Probably my mom and dad, maybe not, but I have fond memories of staying at my grandmother's house, and sometimes we would sleep in the. I don't know, just the end of the house. It was an add-on to the house. It was almost like a lean-to they'd built onto the house. And I remember you had to go down a couple of steps to get down to the floor. And then I remember it always seemed like it was tilted a little bit. And I think that was the boys' room. And when I say boys, mom had 5 brothers, I think, two sisters, 5 brothers. And, but we'd go they were all gone, of course, when I was there, but we'd go to her house for a holiday, Christmas, or maybe to be there on Thanksgiving every once in a while. And I can remember staying in that room, and it was so cold in there that you could see your breath sometimes. But we had these wonderful, wonderful quilts and blankets, and mom would just pile them on the bed, and you'd sink down in these old, what I thought were feather beds. Mom said they might have been chicken feather beds, but anyway, they were feather beds and pillows that weighed about 20 pounds each, and just sink down in there and throw those covers over. Oh, as soon as you got warmed up in there, you were just in a cocoon of warmth and safety. That's what I remember. I probably have my memory of it's probably not the same as what my parents would have been. But I liked it. I used to love to go over and spend the night for 2 reasons, actually. That and listening to the trains run. The coal trains out of Virginia used to come by there. I say constantly, but on a regular schedule, every couple of hours or less. a train would come through, and there were about 200 cars. They averaged about 200 cars, and pretty much what they hauled during the night was coal, just car after car after car of coal. You used to lay in bed and count them because there was a clickety clack for every train car, and I remember counting them, and a lot of them were in the neighborhood of 200 cars. Love that sound though at night, that whistle blowing and the train running by. I wish there'd been steam trains, but unfortunately I missed that era. Some people in that area were known for jumping those cars because there was a little bit of a grade there, and they'd slow the trains would go fairly slow through that area. It's real twisty, and they would slow down, and people were known to hop the cars and fill up their own burlap sacks full of. Yeah, it does. It's just that perfect rhythm, Tina. It was just, it just. I still could go to sleep from that sound if it was. Most things I've listened to on the on YouTube or other things where they do, sounds to sleep by, or the trains usually the clickety clacks are usually too. I don't know. They don't sound quite right. I can't really put my finger on it. Hey, you wanna get up and say hi? Hey, you wanna get up and say good morning? Carol's here. Your fan club president. Not yet. He's not quite ready. Sound not quite ready. Let me scoot over here, and if he does stand up, he'll be more visible. Anyway, those were good memories. The only bad memory about those visits to my grandmother's was the picture in there was another bedroom, and it was a nicer bedroom. It was the original part of the house, and I don't know, maybe that was the girls' room growing up, but there was a picture of an uncle, I believe. I'm not sure exactly his name, but he was in I think he was an uncle, great uncle, and he'd fought in the Spanish American War, and there was a picture of him in uniform, and it was in one of those oval vignette kind of frames that were popular in that day, and it had a convex glass. I think it'd be convex, and when you walked around the room, it looked like the eyes were following you everywhere you went. Because no matter where you got in that room, he was always looking at you. That used to kind of weird me out a little bit. Teddy Carroll says you need to make an appearance. It will boost sales of your new line of fan club merch. You want to do that? I could put the camera on you right now, but you just be, you just be laying here with your eyes closed like a lump. He said he was going for the more dynamic surprise kind of effect, Carol. He will pop on later for merch sales. We could take a train ride and record the sound. Oh, I would love to do that. Don't tease me that way. I'd love to do that. I'd like to travel on a train. I'd like to do one of those around America kind of things on whatever it's called, Amtrak. And but that's expensive. I mean, I think it costs as much or more to ride a train than it does to ride a plane. At least sometimes. But I think that would be a great adventure. To ride a train, to have, the view cars. Brenda's been in a train that had those. I've only ridden one real train when I was young. I was in, wow, what grade? Could have been fifth, but I want to say it was before that. But I had a teacher that at the time I believe was savvy to the fact that the passenger train service out of Johnson City was going to be stopping, and so she got us a trip. We took a trip from Johnson City to Bristol, which really wasn't that far, but we got to ride these really amazing. I remember them being really ornate train cars. Had the seats were like crushed velvet or crushed velveteen or whatever it's called, and I'm sure that my adolescent brain thought it was even more so than it was. Back in 2019, we rode from Vancouver to San Diego. Oh, did you really, Tina? I bet that's the same train that Brenda rode on. Well, the southbound version. She rode it the other direction and went from near LA. I can't remember. Where did you start? Irvine? I don't know. They started somewhere near Los Angeles and went up to Oakland. So if you went through Oakland and out and then off and on along the coast, that would have been the same ride. Probably. I'm guessing. Because I think it goes up to Vancouver. I think I looked that up one time. Oh, that'd be such a great trip. I mean, I'd love to do that. Even just to do that, one leg of it would be amazing. But I can remember when they used to do some kind of, you could get a cheap ticket, and maybe this was just for students, but you could get a cheap ticket to ride a train all the way around. Of course, that probably didn't include sleeping arrangements or that you were probably sleeping in your seat and then paying, of course, for all your food and stuff. So it wasn't as cheap as it sounded, but I think it was an overnight, and we had a sleeper car. Brenda said that they could have. I think Brenda said that too, Tina. So I'm pretty sure that's correct. At least if you're on it from top to bottom or bottom to top, they do an overnight version of that. Brenda and her mom left L.A. somewhere in the early morning, and then we're in 8 hours or so later. They were in Oakland. Takes you about 5 hours to drive it in a car, depending on traffic. Or 6 maybe. And all the way to Oakland, I'm sure it'd probably be 6. So I mean, that really wasn't bad. And you don't have to worry about traffic. You don't have to worry about anything. I guess you could worry about. There are things you could worry about, but why? Why would you want to? I just think that'd be such a great thing to do. Or right across the top, if you can still ride all the way across. And I think that's the one across the top. I think is the Zephyr. Maybe of course the one going north and south might be the Zephyr. I get them mixed up. We got on in Fullerton, okay, and rode your way to San Francisco. I think you mean RODE, but I know you're probably doing voice to text, so it's close enough. Coffee tastes good this morning. Oh, by the way, I was going to say, my cohort in crime is not going to be on today. He'd planned on it, and maybe his daughter was going to get on for a little while. She's not sure she wants to get on with a bunch of people, but I can assure her that it won't be. You were delayed 8 hours. What do you mean? I don't remember that. Yeah, it's still not the right road, babe. RODE is the road you want, not ROAD. See? That's at least one thing I can spell. I kind of remember you guys being delayed, but you mean you left 8 hours late? or you were delayed along the way, because I don't remember that part, not being there with you and enjoying it with you. No, who got to enjoy it with you? Your mom, not your husband. There you go. There you go. You got it. Anyway, Mark called me. He sent me a text this morning and said he'd been up sick all night and was not going to make it. So that's bad. I asked him who cooked last night because I know his spousal unit's out of town. She was trying to get from her and her daughters were trying to get from Salt Lake City to Las Vegas to go to the Pink concert tonight. And I don't know if they made it or not. They were unfortunately they picked the cheapest airline they could find. I think he said that one of the daughters booked all that, and the flight had been delayed twice, and they were supposed to have gotten there yesterday afternoon to Vegas, and now they weren't even gone yet. They were supposed to catch like an 8 or 9 o'clock flight. They can almost have driven down there in that length of time. It's not that far away. I bet next time they think about that. But I thought it was great that they were going to go see Pink. I'd like to do that myself. And no, Mark wouldn't have gone. Mark, I'm going to tell you something. And I'm sure when he gets back on next week or whenever, he'll tell it. But he was peopled out. I talked to him last night for a few minutes, the first time since I left out there. Well, maybe not. I think I talked to him right when I got home, but I hadn't talked to him this week since Sunday anyway. And he told me, I said, are you doing okay? Or because he was pretty wound up during the trip and stuff. It was kind of stressful. But he said he was just peopled plumb out. He needed time off. He couldn't. He had been around and seen more people than he wanted to see for a while. When he talks about liking it out there in the high lonesome plains, he's serious about it. He never been a big people person. I mean, I haven't either, but he's really not. And he likes his privacy. So he had to have a little bit of quiet time after everything settled down. And which is good. He deserved it. And probably needs some more to get completely healed up. He probably could use a ceremonial sing or something to get some of that poison out. I'll tell you how bad it is. We were in the course of driving in different places. Oftentimes there might be one car on the highway or two, and if they even got right in front of us and we were catching them, he was not happy that they were maybe slowing him down. So one car, 2 cars on the road is crowded to him. That's how high lonesome he is where he's at. But there is traffic there. He makes it sound like there's not, and there's not a lot compared to back here. But he lives not too far off a couple of major thoroughfares, so there is a lot of truck traffic, and of course train traffic right by his house. And that's the closest I've been to a train while. But I didn't hear it very well there. Now that I think about it, either they weren't running at night a lot, they were repairing all the railroad tracks, and maybe they figured out a way to not make them go clickety clack anymore. Wow, I got to think about that because I slept on the couch, which was pretty close to the end of the house that's nearest the railroad. And I mean, it's not right outside the door, but it's less than 200 feet. And I bet, in fact, it may be less than 100, but I don't remember other than the horn blowing. And there was the rumble when the engines came by, but it didn't make a lot of noise otherwise. I'll have to I'll have to think about that a little bit. I should have recorded that. Hopefully, I've got a video here. You guys will get to hear Mark talking to the owls. Tina says, I'm like Mark, except at Disney. Not a people person. Yeah, I get that, Tina. I'm not, I wasn't really, and don't know that I still am, or, I'm still that way, but I had to learn how to, deal and work with people in my business and became kind of known as, somebody who had never met a stranger, but I just kind of worked through it. But most of those people were, when I wanted to sit down and hunker down or talk to somebody about an issue in the field, when I was up working with constituents or whatever you want to call them, that was a little different. Usually, not always. Sometimes it was Fast Freddy from New Jersey who was trying to sell me the best used car in the world, aka trying to get by with something he wasn't supposed to get by with. But he wasn't much of a hunker. Those kind of people don't hunker. The country folk know how to hunker, and you can usually talk to them. With that being said, I guess I could. I didn't ask if anybody wanted to come on the show. I guess I could do that too. I was a grumpy Gus when I got home, though. Oh, wait a minute here. Let me catch up. Tina, same. I'm a people person in my classroom, but not so much in real life. Yeah, that's different though. You get to be a people person in front of little people who appreciate you and for what you're doing for them. I think that's different. But I mean, you got to be a little bit of a people person at Disney, or you're not going to enjoy it at all. My brother and his wife went one year and came back hating on the whole concept. Brenda, you remember this? I don't say hating, but they didn't enjoy. Too many strollers, too many people, and in their words, and I got this directly from them, it was stroller hell to them, which I have no kids. Okay, somebody kick her out. I don't know who that is. Nikon let stroller hell. I thought it might have. Just okay. I kicked Shunko out. Maybe I shouldn't have, but we'll see in a minute if I come back. Okay, well, since Mark isn't coming today, and I don't know if anybody else is going to make it, I might as well show you a few pictures, hadn't I? I just might as well. So let me prepare things. And no, she didn't. My daughter, my son, crap. My sister-in-law and my brother did. They're the ones that called it stroller hell. I don't know. We never seem to worry about that much. I won't deny it could get that way at times. But they don't have kids, so they didn't understand it. They didn't get the whole concept. That's not good. Let me go this way. There we go. But they they don't have kids, didn't have kids, didn't want kids, yada yada yada. So, they would have thought it was stroller hell probably regardless. I mean, I think just the fact that there were kids there may have made them feel uneasy, but there was a lot of kids there, so that probably made them feel real uneasy. That's a whole nother story. And of course, they knew how we felt about the whole thing. So, this is probably not going to come out near as well as it would have if Mark had been here. No, I don't think so. I do think that sometimes the babies that I see are way too young to be in that heat. I think a lot of the crying that goes on at Disney World or Disneyland, I'm sure, is probably because parents just want to get their kids there early, when they're little, and I'm sure that's a cute thought and maybe a good idea, but it's it usually doesn't work out well for the children, really. If you let them get just a tiny bit older, ours were just old enough that I think it made a big difference. I love being among people at Disney, but that's also, let me go back here. I love being around the people at Disney, but that's also not the same as real life. You go there to escape, and it's all part of the experience. Yeah, Carol, it's you. You either accept that when you go there, or you don't enjoy yourself, or you don't go. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's like we used to go at Christmas, or well, we were there at Christmas a couple of years on Christmas Day, and it's crowded as hell. It is hell. But we loved it. We enjoyed it because we went there knowing that it was going to be crowded and that we wouldn't be riding a lot of rides and we wouldn't be doing, that kind of. We probably wouldn't get to do a lot of those kind of things, but we got to do a lot of other stuff. We got to enjoy we went there to enjoy the music and the lights and the decorations and the parades and the fireworks and all that kind of stuff. And so we were fine. The only thing we didn't like about it, usually, or the first few times we were there at or near Christmas, was the bathroom situation, which over time, they seem to have worked out better so that there were more women's bathrooms. I can remember the lines going in Tomorrowland. I can remember them converting the men's bathroom there to women. So they had two women's bathrooms there near the launching pad, and the line for that bathroom for the women used to go up around towards the quick service where Sunny is. Well, is that the lunch? Maybe that is the launching pad. So anyway, it went up around through there. It was awful. How many peanut butter cookies are left? Mike, that's kind of personal, buddy. That kind of hurts my feelings that you would even, be concerned about the cookies. 2 or 3, I think. Sorry. Next time I'll have to ask Brenda to make a few extra. Any place is nice in the winter to go visit when the weather's normal temperature. It's not minus 40 feet of snow. Hey, you got a good point there, Mike. Maybe that's why there's so many snowbirds down there when in the wintertime. You think? I can't necessarily say I blame you if it's 40 below. Let's see, minus 40C, I believe, is the same as minus 40F. I think that's where they neutralize. The differences are even. So minus 40 is minus 40, I believe. I'll tell you what, I'll verify that. I can't remember what the thing is, but when there's an old saying about verification, and I can't remember it. Yep, minus 40 is minus 40 is minus 40. Hey, Diana, welcome in. I was beginning to think Mike had locked you in a room somewhere and wouldn't let you out. A musician wrote a song about Winnipeg and minus 40 weather. Can you guess who it was? Not Cora Blund. Was it Corblund? Because I could believe he would write such a song. If it wasn't him, I don't know. Any other guesses? No, I was out. Oh, you were out. Oh, did you bring the donuts? Gordon Lightfoot. If it wasn't Gordon Lightfoot, then Shania Twain. Oh, you have cinnamon buns. Well, how many of those are left, Mike? I'll send you some the hip. The hip? Neil Young? He's not from up there. Neil Young. Well, there was a couple of songs about running him out of Alabama. Maybe that's where he went. 4 cinnamon buns left. I'll trade you whatever's left of the peanut butter cookies if you'll send me half the cinnamon buns. How about that? Hey, speaking of cookies, I almost forgot this. I meant to show this before so I'm going to remove this for a minute and I'll go back to it. Oh, hide that. That's done. We've talked about that. That's a fun fact, Mike. It is a fun fact. See what the kind of things you can learn here. So I got Brenda some cookie cutters so she can make me cookies. And peanut butter cookies, sugar cookies, snickerdoodles, just throwing out some hints. But I got these. Guess who I got these from? Here's one of them. Whoop. See what that is? This one ought to give it away. Was he really, Diana? I did not know that. Well, then it makes more sense. Okay, here's the other one. This ought to give it away. Hey, what you hit me on the arm for? In case that doesn't make any sense, this will help. Come on, my fingers are focused, but that's not focused. There it is. Death Wish Coffee. They have. I really wish they'd get on the ball and send me an advertising check. I've been shilling for them for a couple years now. Apparently, they don't watch my show. Because it fuels my show and fuels me. Supposed to have the highest rated caffeine quantity of any coffee in the world, they say. Oh, I love snickerdoodles too, Diana. My mom used to make good snickerdoodles. Yeah, I got a coffee cup and let's start this all over. I have a coffee mug and a bolt of lightning. So when I get some cookies made from those, they'll be on the show, Mike, just so you know. Death Wish cookies, indeed, Carol. I wish they'd made another one. I don't know what. I mean, obviously the mug but they use the lightning bolt on a lot of their other stuff. I actually thought it was on their stickers that I have, but it's not. So they've got some other ones that have it. Has anyone tried the Death Wish? Blue and berried blend. Always considered buying it, but it's so expensive that I never do. I've not, Carol. I don't like flavored coffee, so I haven't done that. Never not bever. Never not ever. I thought about getting some. Brenda won't drink it. I mean, she won't. If she drank any, she'd probably. What, buddy? You ready to set up and say hi? You want to set up and say hi? You can't pull. We've got a new thing. I mean, it's not that he hasn't done it before. Let go. But since I've come home, he's really hung close. I guess you could maybe. At least that my ego wants to think that. But when I sat here, he's been pulling on my shirts, grabbing my arm, pulling down my shirt sleeve, tugging until he gets me way over like this with my arm wrapped around him. And then he lays back down, and I guess he's comfortable. But I really wish it's kind of hard on my shirts for one thing. And come on. Guess I got to start this over. So we'll get back to the show. Make some cookies. Maybe I can get Brenda. Here's what I'll tell you. We'll try to do. Might not happen immediately, but maybe when we get some of our homemade vanillas ready, which we might pull some early and see how it is. Maybe my beloved will make some cookies, and we'll do the Death Wish cookies, and we'll share them with our Saturday morning friends. How about that, Mike? How about that, Mike? Did you hear that, Mike? Testing. Did you hear that, Mike? I don't know. Can I do this on the radio, you think? Do I have a voice? I don't think I've got a voice for it. Anyway, that sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a great idea to Mike, as long as the shipments are coming north, not south. So anyway, I thought I would, even without Mark, I thought I'd try some of these. I'd, go through some of this, what we did. And we may talk about it a little bit more when Mark gets here. And I'm hoping maybe when he does, next time he does, you guys can meet Caitlin, and she can. I think she's would be a little bit nervous about coming on. It wouldn't matter if there was two of us here, probably. But she's incredibly smart lady, and she's got so much knowledge about things fossilized in stone that I thought Mark was full of that kind of knowledge, but she's quite amazing. I mean, she was telling me all kinds of stuff that I just never knew. Yeah, I told her that, Mike. We're good peeps here. We're not going to pick on her or cause her any problems. I really hope you guys get to meet her. I have one picture of her in here, but she's just one of my favorite young people, and it's amazing how much she's grown since the last time I saw her. And quite the story of journeys, I'll tell you. Anyway, I always seem to get teary-eyed when I think about it. Only people we pick on are Tim and Mark and myself. That's right, Mike. That's right. Powers in 3. Brenda, it's a great idea. Mike's encouraging. Brenda, you hear that? Mike's encouraging you too. I thought I'd throw this Kimmer badge up here. I thought I'd talk just a little bit about Kimmerer, which I've spelled wrong. And no, maybe I didn't. Maybe I got that fixed. But I kept putting an I in it for Kimmerer. Kimmerer. but it's all E's, and they consider themselves like the fish fossil capital of the world, and they have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of fish of fossils there, all of which, most of which are related to water. Now you get just out of Kimmer and you get into some other stuff, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But that's where my education starts to fail me a bit on time. Caitlin and Mark both, but Caitlin could tell me layers of stone and what epoch or era they were from, and where the fossils were, where the dinosaurs are, and they found some. They out where they live it was where the Tyrannosaurus Rex a few years ago. If you guys might remember, I think they named her. Was it Kathy? It don't sound right. I thought I had that right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I think that it was the most complete one they'd ever found. And selective bullying, I like it. Yeah, you got a point, Carol. It long as we have thick skin, us men have to stick together. That's right, Mike. We do, because Sue. Yes, it was Sue. Thank you, Carol. Was found not really that far away from where they were in Wyoming, I believe. If I remember correctly. If it wasn't, then it was another one. But anyway, that one is now in the field, I believe the Field Museum in Chicago. And I think they sold it to somebody, and that somebody paid a huge amount of money for it. But I think it's in the Field Museum in Chicago. I think it may have moved around some since then. But anyway, and then there was another raptor they found out there. The not as big as T-Rex, but much bigger than any other raptor they had found. Well, T-Rex I don't think is considered a raptor necessarily, but if you guys remember the small vicious ones on the it is the Field Museum. Thank you again, Carol. The raptors that were on the or velociraptors that were in the Jurassic Park movies. Hey, Kay, welcome in. Sue who? Not you, Sue. Sue who, the Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton they discovered. Anyway, what was I saying? So if you remember those velociraptors or whatever in Jurassic Park, they actually found one not too far from where Mark lives, and they've named it Utah Raptor. Because I think they've now found some down there, but it was bigger than the raptors that we see on TV. Although really the velociraptors weren't as big as those, so maybe those are actually getting close to Utah raptor size. But most of the raptors that were in that time period, and this one Jurassic Park thing, it's a little off, is the little guys were the vicious, really the ones that they should have been afraid of more than the big. Oh my, Carol, well that's neat. That's good. It wasn't found on his property, was it? Because that part I don't know. But that's interesting. He must have had something to do with funding it, or that was an honorarium for the movies, maybe. That's cool. I'd like to have a raptor, or I'd like to have a dinosaur named after me, the Timosaurus. So anyway, that's the logo for the city, and they've actually got signs up as you enter this town, which I don't think I have a picture of, that show this. And but they're fish, like they say, they're the home of it's an aquarium in stone, and I thought that was a great little logo. I don't know who came up with that, but kudos to them. The picture in the middle is just another scene from the area around where some of these fossils are found, and just part of the country that Mark loves so much. And I mean, you can't help but understand why, I think, but unless you don't like trees, there's not a lot of trees in that country, except along the creek banks. So please consider hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and leave a comment. And Carol just said a retired teacher couple from my school used to work as paleontologists. When Utah raptor was uncovered, the group of paleontologists tried to educate Spielberg about what raptors are like. Oh, cool. Well, that's cool. I'd like to have been that couple. That would be so cool to find something like that nobody had seen before. And that's there's a lot of that going on right now. They're finding a lot of stuff in different places. China is somewhere in the Gobi Desert, I believe. They're digging up stuff and naming things every day, new things, because they're finding all kinds of species that they didn't have. They didn't like the way he depicted them, so the name was Utah raptor instead. Cool. That's good for him. That's, that serves him right. He could have had a dinosaur named after him. I wish I'd known. I could have told them they could call it the Timosaurus. I would have been fine with that. The Timosaurus raptor. That would be good. Come on, some local support here would help. So anyway, moving right along, this is the town of Kimmer. And I took this picture I took a lot of these pictures in the truck. So I'm going to apologize for the poor quality of some of them ahead of time. You're not supposed to apologize about stuff like this before you do it, or even when, but I guess, but I'm just going to tell you now, some of them are good, some of them are not. Some of them turned out really good. Kimmer, Wyoming. See, I did spell it wrong there. Dang it. In fact, I didn't even spell it right at all. It's Kimmer. Golly, bum. Brenda, say, well, you need to come down here and proof me. Population is 2,415, and that's in the little town. The elevation out there is 6,949 feet. Mark always likes to joke about Denver being a mile-high city, but they're over a mile high. So, and there's a lot of cities in Wyoming that are over a mile high. It was founded in 1897, and they have a website if you want to check them out. It's www.kimmerer.org. And see, I have it spelled right there, so I don't know why I didn't fix that one. Oh well. But this is the main drag going into town. I can't remember. We were, I think I took that picture, but that picture might have been from the city brochure. Because I don't know if this Arctic Cat sign was still there last week. But the rest of the stuff looks just like it. I mean, it's a small town, and instead of having a town square, yeah, I know. Look at that sky. That sky turned out really nice in this picture. Look at that blue. Instead of a town square, they have a town triangle. And that's the first town triangle I believe I've ever seen. I'm sure there are more out there, but this was my first one. So I don't know if anybody else has got a town triangle. Raise your hand. One of the things they have to get to brag about out there, besides their fossils, is the fact that this is the home of the J.C. Penney Company. And I think I've mentioned this before, but that's a stat, or maybe I put this on Instagram last week, or when we were out there. But this is a statue of Mr. Penney on the corner there, and then around the triangle, on one side of the triangle, is the J.C. Penney Company. And that's the store he started in 1902. And back then he sold, Levi's and coveralls and things to the hunters and trappers and miners. There were a lot of miners up here in that time. not gold miners so much, although I'm sure there were some, but coal mining mostly. And there's a gemstone they mine that's used in, well, I'll say a gem. I think it's a gem, considered a gem. But anyway, they mine it now. It's used in cell phones and micro computers and all that. So that's a big deal. And then there's a lot of gas and oil out there. So they're digging and drilling and just generally raising hell with a lot of things. And that I'm going to talk about that in just a second too. That's a really big issue out there, is their energy production. I believe they have a logo or a motto in Wyoming, or some people do at least, that Wyoming's the energy state because they've got wind, sun, oil and gas and coal, so they can just about fuel any kind of power production you want to get into. So some of that's good, some of it's not so good, some of it's still very questionable. Anyway, moving right along. And this is one of the things that's going to happen. This is the currently the Kimmerer power plant, and this runs on coal. And a little fun fact, I guess, in some ways, this looks bad. This is mostly steam, not actual smoke. And this chimney, if you can see it right here in the middle, the only thing that comes out of that chimney is steam. And that's what used to be a smokestack. TVA, before I retired, had a couple of these. We're going to these. It's a new scrubber that takes out virtually everything, and the byproduct of it is steam and stuff your wallboards are made out of. Why can I not think of that? It's calcium based, like sheetrock. What is that called? Come on, brain, kick in. Anyway, that's the byproducts of that kind of system. A lot of coal, if you're people that are still burning coal, power companies and water going to that to help clean it up. And maybe that works. I'm sure there's people that will say it does not, but it does seem to make a huge difference in that. Gypsum, thank you, Philip Dalton. Welcome in, buddy. I didn't see you there. Thank you. If you want to come into the show, I'll bring you in and you can talk with me about trips to the Wild Wild West, because you're getting ready to plan one of your own. And the only reason I really put this up here was, well, two reasons. One, to talk a little bit about Wyoming being the power center of the power state, or whatever they call it. And but also because Bill Gates has come to Wyoming, and Bill Gates is funding a new project out there, and they are going to build one of the new, what they call mini reactors or micro reactors, that they believe could solve a lot of the energy issues, and the fact that it takes years and years and years and years and years to get a reactor approved today. Most people say you couldn't get one the way we were building them approved through the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the EPA, whoever. And I can get that because there's pretty good impact. But these things are relatively small, and they're highly contained. And what you see on that lower corner is what they're predicting the plant will look like when they get it built. And the idea is that's going to be built to the south of that plant. And then that plant will be shut down and maybe torn down. Filled with like minerals of Wyoming for $800, Alex. Just washing breakfast dishes and listening. Well, thanks for listening in, buddy. And Phil's getting ready to plan a trip. He's working on, well, he is working on planning the trip. He's going to Arizona soon, so to visit with family and friends, and probably be out there for a bit over the holidays, I'm sure. I think he's driving because he's going to be doing some camping. You're not motorcycling, are you? I don't think you said you were. So anyway, this project is supposed to, it's going to be near Kimmerer. It's going to produce enough for 400 homes. It's a $4 billion project, and 1.9 is funded by the government. Bill Gates is putting in all that rest of the money, my understanding. And they hope to have it up and running by 2028. And I think they announced it in August. It's pretty new. I knew that he was working on this. It's going to be a demonstration site project to show that it's feasible and it works. Honestly, if they do this and if these are right, and I've heard a lot of good things about these reactors being really safe. They can't melt down like some of the other reactors. No, it's a camp in the back of the truck trip. I thought it was. There's a lot of things about these reactors that make them positive. I'm sure there's negatives too, but I mean, I don't know. I had a guy tell me 50 years ago, probably now, the first environmentalist I ever knew. And he told me then that he thought the future for world power was going to be nuclear because despite its hazards, it's actually the cleanest power we can make. And that's still true. And you can produce a lot of power with one. But these little mini nukes are really special. They come in self-contained. They're built and then shipped in, and the design is supposed to be very, very safe. And anyway, he's going to do one that's going to be at Cameron. And the big problem with this is out there is a lot of people are upset about the loss of jobs. It takes far less people to run this nuclear plant than it does to maintain and run this coal-fired plant. Not to mention the miners who'll be digging the coal for this plant won't be needing to dig coal for this plant. So there's always two sides to everything. And it's pretty controversial in that regard. We'll see how it works out, but that part you may not hear as much about, but that is reality of such a thing. So anyway, moving right along, I think the rest of these are trip pictures until I get down to the home pictures. So this is kind of the flight path of me, or the travel path that I went through to go to where I went to, and then back to Wyoming and back home. So, and this is my phone. I have my phone set up to do these maps automatically. And so I started out right here in good old Knoxville, Tennessee, and I flew to Chicago, and then I flew from Chicago out to Salt Lake City. And in Salt Lake City, Mark picked me up, and then you can't really tell it, but these are double rows of bubbles because this is going down and then back up. But we started in Utah, worked our way down, bumped over through the corner of Colorado, then down New Mexico, down to not the Panhandle. I don't know Phil, what do they call this corner? I always thought this was the Panhandle, but maybe this is. Maybe I've always had that wrong. Anyway, we had to drop down into Texas, the El Paso area, and picked up Caitlin, and then we started back up north and went more or less back up the same road we went on. Traveled on. Phil, you'll know this. You'll be interested. Yeah, I don't know how many miles it was, Diane. I got to do some math and calculate that because we didn't write them down. I didn't anyway. Should have. Because I went to Wyoming and turned around eventually and went back to Salt Lake to fly out of. That's the nearest place to fly out of. And it's only a couple hour drive from Mark's house to Salt Lake, so it's not that far. Anyway, what was I saying? Well, hey, Michelle, welcome in. Good morning. Panhandle. I always thought the panhandle was the top too, so I don't know what they call that little handle down there at the bottom. Probably don't. Maybe they just call it El Paso. Yes, Diana, it was quite the drive. It was. I would say the trip down was really hard, and we eased up some coming back, but I'm not sure that's true. Because by that time we were in such a hurry. Mark really wanted to get home, and at that point, so both ways were kind of before smarts in that respect. We went down hard and we came back hard. Now we did not drive through the nights. Mark or I, neither one really wanted to do that, and we could have driven more and probably made it a day or two less up and down, but that basically took up the first week of the trip, was driving down there and driving back up. We got back to Wyoming on Saturday. We left on a Monday. He picked me up on a Monday, and then we drove down and turned around, came back. I think we hit El Paso early Wednesday morning, and then turned around and headed back north late Wednesday afternoon, and got back Saturday morning ish, fairly early anyway. That right? Maybe it wasn't that early, but anyway, we got back there to his house on Saturday evening, and we were just dead. I know I was. I slept. Oh my God, I slept so hard while I was out there. Anyway, it was a good trip. I mean, I got to see a lot of things. We didn't stop and look at a lot of things, and we had talked about that. We had talked about trying to go to Chaco Canyon in New Mexico and see the ruins there and see some stuff, and that would have been a lot of fun. But like I said, at that point, I think Mark just wanted to get home and get settled, and so we didn't take the time to. But I got to see things from a distance, and for some things, that's all you need. I just wanted, these are a couple of the first day trip things that we saw in the second day, but we had this rainbow popped up in front of us. Can't remember exactly where we were when this happened. You can see the road's a little damp. And this was the view from the hotel room of the first night we were out. Oh, that's not Mark's truck. That's a different truck. Mark's got a Chevrolet truck. I think that's a Nissan. But I thought the view out the front lobby of the hotel was kind of nice. We stayed in Holiday Inn Expresses out there, so I know things now. If anybody needs, an expert on something. And then this was just a view through the front windshield and at the mountains and just how far you can see out there. And I took a lot of those. This is from Price, Utah, by the way. And I think I probably posted that on Instagram too. Make sure I haven't missed anything. And I'm again, some of these pictures are not going to be great because I did take them through a lot of them through the windshield or the side window. So pardon me for that, but I want you to see them anyway, or some of them because they're, I don't know, it's pretty cool country out there. And this is just more of the things that just sort of rise up in the distance. And, remind me, some of this stuff reminds me of old westerns, but like this lump down here at the bottom picture, I'm not sure if those are ashes, or cones that didn't fully form, but this kind of thing just sort of pops up off the desert floor. Hey, Ian, welcome, buddy. I went through part of your state last couple weeks ago. I went through the corner of Colorado, dropped back down into New Mexico. These pictures show why road trips are so nice. Yeah, I know it is. The views out here are just tremendous. I mean, it may look like a lot of empty country, but to me, it's just amazing. And the stuff that's out there is just, you don't, the stuff you can find out there, there is so much history out there, fossils and artifacts. And Not saying you should go out and be grave robbing and digging stuff up, but it's out there. And this was my first more or less view of Shiprock, which was one of the things I really wanted to see. I don't know why, but Shiprock just after learning some of the Navajo stories about Shiprock and how important it is to them, it just, I don't know, it felt like it meant something to me, and it was Ignacio is the closest I've been to Four Corners. I have to look at a map, see exactly where that is. We were close to Four Corners, but we didn't stop or go to it. But we weren't very far from it. But you can see that when I took this, it was kind of hazy and not a great picture. And if you guys remember, I showed you a picture of Shiprock before. I was talking about things out there, national parks and whatnot. And you can't really see it from here to get the full view, but Shiprock, to the natives, the Navajo people or Dene, it's not just a rock. They in their creation story, if you will, the story of how the Dene people came to be. A giant bird came out of the ground or was formed out of the ground and rescued them and brought them to their homeland, as they refer to it. And I don't know if that's Deneata. I can't remember the word. Anyway, went by Shiprock on the beam. Oh, really? That's cool, Phil. Did you get close? Or, I mean, you can't drive right up to it, but, well, you can, but it's on private property. You have to have permission. It's very protected by the Dene now. That people used to climb it a lot, and not so much now. A few people do. But anyway, if you see it from above, it looks like you can kind of see why these two strips. These you see the rock here, and then this strip, it goes out through here and goes out through here. Those are lava tubes that dried up, but they're really unique in how they formed. And Shiprock, that's what Shiprock is. This big monolith sticking up out of the earth is the core of a volcano that hardened. The lava hardened inside the volcano, and over eons of time, everything else has eventually eroded away. So this was a cinder cone, typical, probably similar to just any volcano you make for a school project. And over time, that has weathered away, and this is what's left. And that was the lava core, and that's what these tubes are. These strips out through here were lava that cooled down. And if you see it from above, it looks like a bird. It's got the middle part where the main rock is, and then it looks like two wings. And what the Dene say is that once they were delivered to their homeland by the bird, that it went back into the ground and became this rock. So it's very important to them. It's a sacred rock, and a very, well, sacred. I don't know what else to call it. It's protected, and they're very proud of that heritage and what it means. So this was, and there's a lot of those lava rocks. Shiprock, I think, is one of the bigger lava cones that's there, but this is what it might look like up close, or very similar. And if you look at these, this one on the left is kind of hollowed out, but if you look, you can see the sides. This is the lava that hardened, and then the sides have washed out, or maybe it blew out, or who knows. If you've ever seen, and this is what it looked like from a slightly different angle, and you can kind of get an image or an idea in your mind, I hope, that what that looked like when it was full of lava. And maybe this one broke open and the lava came out. Maybe it exploded like Mount St. Helens did. What did Carol say? What did you say, Carol? Oh, you said you didn't know that. I thought, okay, excuse me. I think I'm caught up over here. Never been to Shiprock, but heard great things. It's really cool. It's an impressive rock, and that may sound dumb, but it really, again, because I know this, I've read stories now about it, know some of the native stories. Um, it to me, it's kind of powerful in its own way. I mean, it made me emotional feeling. Like that, but uh, I don't know. It's a cool thing. And I'm going to skip on. I have more road pictures, and I think I'm going to show some after I get through. We'll just zip through a few because I've got a lot of duplicates. But um, yeah, you should, Ian. I'd like to go back and see more of it and get closer, or at least as close as you can. And I think with permission, you can hike out there. I think, but they don't just. It's not just open to go in and out. And they, like I said, for the most part, I think they keep climbers off of it now, or try to. Climbing is a funny sport. It's very individual, but they, do it in teams sometimes, which is safer. But there's also a problem with chalk. People don't think about that, but there's bluffs out. I know I've seen bluffs in Wyoming and I think in New Mexico when they climb, or Colorado. And when they climb, that chalk residue stays on the rocks for a long time. You were on US 64. Okay, here's a fun fact, Phil. I meant to tell this a minute ago. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but we dropped out of Salt Lake City to down near Monticello. We went to Price, Utah, and Moab, some places like that, and then cut over through this corner of Colorado and then down into New Mexico. Once we hit New Mexico, we were on Highway US 491. That doesn't sound like anything. US Highway 491 used to be US Highway 666. And because people were calling it the Devil's Highway and thought there was all kinds of other powers related to the Bible or revelations or whatever, they eventually pressured. I don't know who all back. It wasn't the natives. They didn't care, but eventually it was, the government was pressured into changing that to 491. People who climb Ayers Rock in Australia. And yeah, they do. And they've tried to get a grip on that too, Phil, but you're right. They really, they're very sensitive about Ayers Rock too, just like these guys are about Shiprock. US 191 was also formerly Route 666. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I don't know what all the connections are, but maybe the 91 has something to do with that. But 666, if I'm not mistaken, Phil, you can correct me, but 666 was linked to Route 66. Route 66, in Arizona, okay. Route 66 was, of course, the mother road, as they say, and one of the highways west out of Chicago to somewhere in the Los Angeles area. I can't remember where it hits the ocean, or did. But 666 was a link to that, or a way to get to 66 or off of 66 somewhere else. So 666 just happened to be the logical number for that. But people didn't like it much, so they got rid of it. But we were on it twice. We went down south, I don't know how many miles, and on the way back, we drove on it some more. So actually, it's a pretty good highway. Well, we passed some signs about 66, Michelle, but we weren't on it. We went by Virginia State Route 666 on the recent fall. Oh, did you? That's interesting, Phil. So they still have one. Part of Route 66, or the old 666, went through the Navajo reservation. And like I said, they weren't the ones pushing for it, but other people thought it was a terrible, terrible thing. So anyway, one of the things we got to do near Kemmer, again, this goes back to the fossil situation out there. We went to Fossil Butte National Monument, and I learned more about this than I thought I'd ever know. I mean, it was good things. Caitlin actually worked out here for a while as some, I think, as something she did in high school, but maybe even after that. She has a paleontology degree. I believe it's paleontology. She'll hit me if I get that wrong. But she worked out here and actually helped uncover some things that were pretty cool. And she worked inside. I don't know if I have a picture of it or not, but they have a visitor center there now, which she said had been greatly improved since she was there. But down, well, actually, it is. See this lower picture on the left with the fish? That is, she worked. That's a lab, demonstration lab where they actually have workers go in there and chip these out and clear these fossils so you can see them, or they can record them, collect them, ID them, that sort of thing. But they have a lot. They have a lot of fish, but they also have other water reptiles and land-based reptiles out there too, at least in Fossil Butte. And they have a lot of turtles and different, as you can see in this picture, there's at least 3 different kinds of turtles right there. And we have some sort of a serpent creature right here. And I thought these were nice. These are small fossils, and the displays are made with these magnifying glasses right there, so you can see what they're trying to pinpoint. I thought that was a pretty good idea. Rather than just pointing to something on a piece of paper, you can actually lean over and look into the magnifying glasses and see what they're talking about. The female. Oh, that's cool. That's female of whatever version of something this is. It says it was found with unborn young, which is extremely rare. There's some form of array. Dang it, Tim, stop that. It's, ray or escape, like a stingray. And this was salt water as far as I know, so that's probably what that was. In fact, that's probably what this is up here at the top corner. Moving right along, and it's just more of their displays. This is plants they found out there at different levels, which is kind of cool. All down the walkway out there at this visitor center. Hi, buddy. You want to say hi to everybody? Say hi, everybody. Just getting up from my nap, so I'm not quite awake. Right? Is that right? Yeah. Good boy. You're a good boy. Oh, they should hear you humming right now. I mean, not humming, purring, shouldn't they? Yeah. Well, you can hang around for a few minutes if you want to. And don't forget to look at the camera once in a while. Carol's trying to sell some of your merch. Okay. We're going to have to get that. We're going to have to work on that merch thing. All right. See him reaching up. He's starting his, shut up, Daddy. Quit talking about me. I don't think I want to be driving on 666 either. Well, it's not there anymore. So, and that what Phil said is a good point. He used to go out there. The I-40 corridor decommissioned 66, and there were, I think Williams, was it, Phil, or a couple of cities out there that were along 66 that fought the I-40 project for quite a long time and delayed the completion of I-40 across the country because they didn't want to lose the tourist the traffic that came through down 66 into different towns in Arizona, maybe New Mexico too. I can't remember exactly, but I know Phil was out there when that was before they finished it because of that. So if he wants to, he can speak to that or put it in the chat. But anyway, what I was going to say was they've got these markers on their railing that's sort of showing levels. If you could imagine that going out in a plane and slicing off that hill where that target is, then that's what was happening during that time frame, which I thought was really cool. And they go all the way down and around, and they sort of give you an idea of what kind of plants, animals, fish, what Williams, Arizona fought it. Okay. Well, I was right. And again, here's a bird, shorebird type critter. Not sure what time frame this is, or a crane. Here's some more of those markers you can see all the way down through here. And that's going over to this ridge right here. This monument is kind of controversial too. Again, I did not know this. I mean, it's been there for a while, but I think they made it official. Obama may have signed this one in. It was already up there, but they delayed it. The people who originally started to make it a monument, if I remember correctly, were the first scientists to work the area. And in the end, they just wanted part of it called the monument, and the rest of it left. But it's all been made a monument, which caused a lot of interference with local use, and that made a lot of people mad, of course, especially out in Wyoming. They don't take kindly to that sort of thing, I've learned. But I guess in time we'll see what happens if they move more up. I think they could manage it for wildlife and hunting if they wanted to. They just aren't there yet. Just during part of the year and just sections of it. It's pretty large, much larger than the quarry and the fall. But then again, too, if you dug the whole mountain up, it's probably full of fossils. I thought this was cool. It's like a school of fish that got trapped between the layers of mud. First trip out in 76. There was sections unfinished in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Notably Amarillo and Gallup. Imagine that. And we got several kinds of turtles and tortoises here. I like this one because it had this long tail. I've never seen a turtle with a tail like that. That's fascinating to me. And I don't know if they told. It might have been a flat tail. They may have been able to use that for propulsion and guiding through the water. Not sure. And this is some more. Make sure I'm in the right place. This was a mock-up of the quarry and showing how they cut the rock and took it out in slices. And this, well, this is a fabricated, dang it, excuse me. And while this is a fabricated example, and you see this when you walk into the visitor center, I'll show you that in a minute, or show you the outside. But you can see if you look, it is replicating the striations or the strata of these rocks. You can see all these layers in it, and these layers, depending on the color, they can kind of tell you what sort of fossils are going to be in there. Like from here down to here, maybe fish species, and then up here you may find, later things. But very interesting if you're interested in dinosaurs and fossils. It's a cool place to learn about stuff like that. And I've lost my pointer. There it is. And I thought this was I wanted to show this because I've got, if I can find it, I've got some show and tell. Brenda, do you have that bag of fossils? Oh, I didn't see that, Michelle. Say hi to Hannah. Anyway, you can see the texture. This is a soft shell turtle. And you can see the texture of this in the shell. It's one way to tell a soft shell from the other tortoises or turtles or tortoises. And that pimpling or pebbling of the shell. And I've got, we were out on Mark's place, or a friend of his place, and we actually picked up some of these. So it's pretty cool. Okay, this is what it looks like when you walk in up to the visitor center, and right here in this corner, this glass where the doors are, that's where that exhibit was, where they were, simulating the quarry. And this is an alligator, a crocodilian reptile slash dinosaur prehistoric critter that they found out there in that area. And Caitlin has actually found one of these herself in a different spot, but I think she found hers out near the buffalo jump, which I think I have pictures of here in a minute. Now hers might not have been complete, but they found a lot of the spinal pieces and teeth. And I've got one small, tiny crocodilian tooth tip that we found while we were out there moseying about. Oh, the reason I put this bottom picture is actually the private museum, and I can't remember the people's names that started that, but they helped create the monument itself. But they still have a museum down here that they run privately. You can go in and see, and they still, somebody with the family or somebody that owns that museum, and the family may have sold out of everything now. I'm not sure, because I know the husband and wife that found a lot of these things and started the monument. I know they passed away, and their kids may have sold it off. I can't remember now, but they have a quarry somewhere that they mine fossils in now on private property. I believe Mark said it was south of here, and that's what goes on and out there mining for these rocks and things is a way of life for some of these people looking for there was a show on TV about it recently where they're like a regular series where people were hunting for dinosaur fossils that they could sell. Some of these ranchers supplement their income by doing that. The skeleton of Sue brought millions and millions of dollars. My mind says 25 million, but I'd have to look at it. Carol, could you, if you're still here, can you verify that? It sold for a lot of money. Of course, it was complete, but the guy that found that on his ranch, he cleaned up in that regard. There's a lot of work though to get it. There was a lot of work to it, so it's not all just profit, but still, they're valuable. And that is the end of my show as it was here. But what I'd like to do, if you guys don't mind, is get rid of this. Oh, and this view, I love this view. This was a place Mark took me to look at. One of his favorite places on earth, I believe, is this valley. And I like this picture because you can see all the difference in color right now. These are aspens. The yellows and golds are aspens. And interesting thing about aspens is you can have a whole grove of them, and technically they're all one plant. They're one family of trees. They're clones of each other. Millions of dollars. I'm getting my shovel. There you go, Diana. So, and what you see in these clone colonies is some of them, while they're the same species, may turn a slightly different color. So you can look at a patch, and if you got good color awareness, you can figure out how many trees or which trees belong to a colony versus this group over here is another colony. Let go of my arm, Teddy. So it is free. I did not know that. Mark taught me that. Beauty spot. Yeah, kind of like that, Phil. Okay, let me stop this screen and give me just a minute, and I will pull up the next screen. I'm going to. Why not? I'm going to show you guys. If you don't mind, that is. I'm going to pull up my. I'm going to pull up my Google photo book and look at some of these. And I'm going to blast through some of them because a bunch of them are a bunch of them are redundant, is what I was going to say. And I got confused by looking at something. But we're going to look through some. I've got stuff on here that I didn't show. And I was looking through them and I thought, well, why don't I just blast through them this way? So this is basically the first day we were out and we saw this rainbow and stopped to take a quick picture. I should have got out of the truck here and got a better shot, but I don't know, something about rainbows, it's maybe a good luck sign. We thought about going out here and finding that pot of gold, but since it's out in the open like that, we figured somebody else had already beat us to it. So, okay, here's several pictures of the rainbow. Hotel again, that morning sky. And this is just, we're dropping out of Price, Utah, heading towards Colorado, the corner of, and then into New Mexico. And you start seeing these just beautiful mountains. I mean, distant mountains, and they're just, I don't know, they're just, to me, they're awesome. I don't know how else to say it. And there's that one again, and you can see a little bit more detail. There we go. I can blow it up a little bit and you can kind of see what it looks like. I mean, to me, this looked like a lava flow, and it may be what it is. Maybe it burped up out of the ground here and spread out and then solidified. Because the surface looks cracked. You see similar things in other areas of volcanic activity. As Mark pointed out, they live on top of the Yellowstone supervolcano. So, Mark's answer to me about that was, well, when it goes up, we'll be gone. So, because they're at ground zero. Again, just the mountains and how they pop up in the distance, you can see. And I wish I had caught the whole thing. He was explaining to me about the layers in the rock. And that was Mark, not me, in case you wondered. Again, I'm just fascinated with the buttes and I don't know really what else to call these spires and things that just pop up out of the ground. And this one you can see layers, like this red layer right in this area. That's got different kind of dinosaurs in it versus, say, this layer up here along the top, or this greenish looking layer right here. And if you're a paleontologist, you're looking for certain colors, and when you find it, you may hit pay dirt there. Again, these are through the wind. I love this wall here. I don't know if you could call that what they call the canyon. Escalade? No. Oh shoot! I knew it a while ago. Maybe it'll pop in my head again. But you can see it goes way down through here, and we're near Stunny Acres there. Hey Don, welcome in. I didn't see you pop up. Big Lone Star howdy. I'm here just ghosting. Okay. And Phil is talking. Esplanade or something. I can't say it right this morning. I can't speak about anything. And today was hoping to see Palo Duro Canyon in Texas and camp at a few state parks. He's a great and worthy traveler. He always plans his trips and he sees things that he wants to go see, which is my trips. This trip was, we wanted to do that, but it was so haphazard we just couldn't take that kind of time to And there's a picture of one of the holing rocks you see out there in that part of Zion or Canyonland or wherever we were passing through at that moment. But as you can see, I took it through the dirty windshield. And all of Mark's tools. There's his fencing pliers and his leather gloves and his bag of David salted sunflower seeds. Man, he's playing a craving on me for those things. I don't think I can eat them anymore, though. And then these mountains are down in either Arizona or New Mexico. We may be in Colorado at this point. I love some of these. Look at this one right here. I think I've got another picture of it, but it looks like a. Well, I told Mark what I thought it was, but you guys tell me what you think that rock right there that I'm circling looks like. And maybe I think I get closer. I can get closer here, but this is it when we get closer up to it. What does that look like to you? There's a couple of these rocks, Phil, that just sort of pop a UFO. I thought you might say Bigfoot, Mike. A Sphinx, yeah, that's a good one. We thought of that one too, Carol. That's what Carol thinks it looks like. I mean, there's no right answer. I mean, it looks like whatever you want it to look like, but makes me sad I can't really eat sunflower seeds anymore. Well, Ian, I don't think I can either. And the reason I can't is because I can't crack them in my teeth like I used to. I'd have to learn a new process. Bigfoot's on the right. Oh, that's Bigfoot laying down over there. I got you, Mike. So we're still going down that way. I think I've got a closer picture of that. I'm just turning in the seat. That side window's not too bad from that angle. Yeah, we're getting closer to it. Getting closer. So there it is close up. What I think it looks like is a peep. Yeah, I used to crack them right between my front teeth in and spit the hole out and eat the seed. I can't do that anymore. I thought it looked like a big brown peep. You know, the marshmallow peeps that we get now all the time. It used to just be around Easter. I thought that's what it looked like. So I declared that the peep rock. Doesn't look like it when you get real close to it. See, these things just sort of pop up out of the ground. Camelback Mountain in Phoenix is really cool. Looks like a seated camel with his head down. Oh, that's cool. Mike still thinks it looks like a spaceship from Mars. Oh, Tina, thank you. I think it looks like a peep. That's one peep that will really damage your teeth. Yes, it would, Carol. Yes, it would. I'll have to look for that, Phil. Is that a commonly known landmark out there? Is that just something you discovered or named? This one out here, I think, Mike, is maybe Bigfoot poop. Coprolites or whatever the anthropologists call it, or paleontologists. You can really, I took this one for a couple reasons. One, this expanse, and I think when I turn here in a minute, we'll get our first glimpse of shiprock, but you can really see the layers in this one too. And there's somebody out here. This world is full of, so to speak, of these wandering campers. Now that you see on the internet and stuff, they're really out there camping on public lands and, traveling around, living the life of a nomad. If you saw the movie, that kind of stuff really happens these days. I'd love to be able to get one of those vans like that one, and you know, well, I'm not sure if that one's a Mercedes or not, but I think it is. I'd like to have a Mercedes and do that, but just the Mercedes van costs more than I could afford. And these mountains, I thought I had a picture of Shiprock coming up, but not yet, I guess. I can't remember what that mountain is. That's also an important mountain to the Dene. I think that marks the upper part of their reservation, or as they would call it, their land, their homeland. Well, I had a bunch of those, although they did turn out pretty good. I love these spires. Again, this is I think, well, this may not be lava. This is just the harder stone that's lasted, but you can see how it's eroded down the sides. If this all washed away, then it would look like that from top to bottom, probably. But these are the kind of things you see where, balanced rocks and in the cartoons and the old westerns, that stuff really does exist out there. We saw some up dashboard shots. Other than the fact that that's mostly just a brown picture, I like to see if I can do some Photoshop on those. There's another spire way off in the distance. It's just neat country, flat top mesas or buttes. I don't know exactly what to call some of these. It probably just depends on who you are and where you're from. Bill says, yes, it lies north of Phoenix Airport. And there's a major east-west street called Camelback. Oh, okay. There's Shiprock, way off down there. We stopped here so I could get out and take a picture of Shiprock in the distance, and you can see it down there. Supposedly, some of the early pioneers that were on the Oregon Trail or on the early travels out there thought that's what it looked like, as far as I know. And that's where the Shiprock part came, but the Dene don't call it that. Well, they may call it that. They call it Shiprock. They have hard K's in their vocabulary. But, and you've already seen this one, but I can't remember the name. I can't even pronounce the name they have for it. It's about that long and syllables and pronunciation. And I don't speak the language. I know how to say hello and their name and a couple other things, and that's it. But I did get to practice it out there at a hotel. We went to a hotel where there was a couple selling, a Navajo couple selling pottery and jewelry and that kind of thing, silver, and they're known for their silver and turquoise and rugs, weaving rugs. And there was a couple in the hotel lobby one morning. We got up to go to eat and head out, and they were there, and I actually got to say hello and Dene, and she corrected me, but so I got it right after that. I thought it was Yutta Hey, but it's just Yutta. Yutta. Well, yeah, something like that. Shiprock closer. I mean, we get a little closer than that, but not a lot closer. Well, there it is, and you can see it's just, it really is. There's dirt roads that go out there, 2 tracks, but I don't know if there's a paved road that goes to it. Let me blast through some of these. And there's that picture I showed you a minute ago, the eroded cinder cone, or what's left of the lava flow. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat, guys. So some brats and Miller beer. Oh my goodness, Bill. I bet you do. Tennessee doesn't play football today, so I get to watch anybody else I want to today. Oh, the rocks. See, here's some spires. Here you're getting some balancing rocks. Eventually, as things erode, will be balancing rocks until they fall off. This one's, this is a big rock on top of this spire. It's just amazing. Whoops. Not sure what that one is, if that's anything in particular. It's right by the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, though. But again, look at the country. I mean, it's flat, high desert looking country, and then boom, this mountain pops up. I'm going to hurry through some of these. So somebody yell at me if you see something you want to. I think there was a deer in this picture. I believe it was right up here in these trees, moving through, but you couldn't see it. I just remembered that. I don't think. No, that's the only picture I got. We blew by it. Yep. And that's Miss Caitlin right there. And Miss Caitlin with her cat, whose name is Ursa. And Ursa is a special needs kitty who, due to, they think, a vitamin deficiency, her body and head didn't really grow at the same rate. So she's got a small body and a head of a full-grown cat and a smaller body. But because of the I think she said they think it's the vets thought it was a vitamin D deficiency when she was young, and she's probably a stray street kitty. Her spine isn't correctly formed or strong enough so she pretty much doesn't do much. She lays around, and she can go to the litter box or dirt box, as she calls it. She can do that kind of stuff, but she can't do a whole lot. But Caitlin's taking care of her, so I think she's probably a sweet kid in that regard. She's a lot like me. She feels a lot of empathy for. Yeah, we had to be really careful getting her home because you'll see in a minute Mark's house is full of dogs. So we had to make sure she got in and got Kitty in the house and kept her safe. And hopefully eventually that won't be an issue, but they're trying to make sure the dogs don't bother her for the time being. I don't know. I just realized I don't know what that shirt says. You're killing something. Me, something. Her and her ex were really into cosplay and Comic-Con type stuff and Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who. And in fact, he carries a Doctor Who umbrella around all the time. I'll let you add that up yourself. And here we had, I believe these were the first windmills we saw down this way, or the second group. I think there was some as we left Salt Lake City. Mark's got me really thinking about these. I always rode the fence about these things because of their energy potential versus the birds they kill. And I think I've been thinking about it more and more, and I'm really not sure about where they're putting them. Or solar panels. Not that I'm against solar panels, but I'm against, I may be against how they set them up. Let's see. I still can't believe you saw UFOs and Bigfoots here there. Yeah, I mean, Mike, you would have loved it, buddy. I should have called you right then and there. Looks like Shiprock is 2.2 miles off US 64. So you were close, Bill. Should have looked pretty big from there. And Diana's gone out to run more errands. So bye, Diana. Don't forget the donuts. I'm starting to get a little hungry. That picture actually turned out pretty decent, and I'm pretty sure that's still through the side window. This was actually a rest stop in Colorado, I think, in the corner. Might be up in New Mexico. But I thought it was kind of cool. You could get out and wander around these rocks right there at the rest stop. Bloop. You know, I took this picture. I don't know. That might have been near Hole in the Rock, but we couldn't really see it. I don't know if that's it. There's a close up of those same windmills. Yeah, it may turn out that these things just kill too much wildlife. You wouldn't think that, but apparently birds get hit by them at night. They kill a lot of bats, a lot of owls. So I think maybe the appropriate place to put these guys is on the ocean, like they do in Europe. You know, England's got big wind farms off the coast over there, and they seem to be They seem to be. I think that would be that would be far less damaging, because I can't really see them bothering fish. Once you get them on the bottom out there in anchor, they're going to create reefs and habitats for fishes, don't you think? You think so? Yeah. Okay. Well, that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Because that'd be fishes for you. Yeah. That'd be fishes for you. Nothing in my pocket, no treats. And the whole thing with the solar panels is, as it turns out, even with most best efforts, you're not going to wildlife once they're put in place. Wildlife just won't use them anymore, so you can't really leave them green beneath. For one thing, they spray them a lot, so they don't want weeds and stuff growing up over the panels. We were talking about the fact that I think there's a couple people now trying to place them higher off the ground so that they can raise certain kinds of low shrubs and vegetation to see if that will help, so they don't make such an invasive footprint on the ground. Don't you start tearing my shirt, okay? I'm still doing the show. We're not through with the show yet. Okay? Let go. Thank you. This is the canyon. This might be Provo Canyon. And this is Bridal Veil Falls, which, again, we didn't stop and get out. But this canyon is pretty cool. We're not too far from home at this point, really. Well, within 2 hours, anyway. So there was a pull off here, but we didn't pull off. Just like any other Forest March, you keep driving. But beautiful country. And when you hit the right spot, the color changes are significant. And coming back down to the airport, we came through some of the same country. And these high mountain areas on the sides of the mountains were really changed in color. That red is what they call mountain maple out there. It's, well, they're all Acer species, ACER, but there's different subspecies. And these maples are more like a shrub. They don't get as high as our red maples do. Okay, Tina's got a comment here, and I have to acknowledge it. Mike, you leaving too? Agreed. Put them on top of buildings, etc., not by the thousands in fields. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Tina. And then there's also people pushing towards, if you want to do this, power them up at your house. Put smaller units that run your house, and make them individual and private, and that would separate a lot of them. Now in cities and stuff, that'd be different, but you could still do them, I think, in places where they wouldn't be as damaging. And birds, including golden and bald eagles, are killed by the thousands by the windmills, and yes, safer than oil rigs out on the ocean. Yeah, I think so, and I think that's something they're going to have to look at. If I had this came up in front of me today, I'd have to do a lot more research, and I don't know that I'd be for it either. I thought they were interesting when we put them in, but when TVA put theirs in up here on the mountain to try them out, experiment, that was one of our big concerns, was just what was being killed by them, and it's pretty significant. And then we didn't know, but now we're getting numbers. Do they use those maples? I don't think so, um, Carol, but they probably have other maples out there that they could. I'm sure. I'm sure by now that sugar maples and things have been transported out there. But then power companies wouldn't make money. Always, oh, I know. It's all about the money, and that's and politics, and it doesn't matter whose side you're on. And I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody, but out there, the government in Wyoming is, in the blue red scheme of things, is about as red as you can get, and they're heavily invested in the energy and oil and coal business. So they're going to drive that as long as they can. It brings jobs into their state. I get that. I don't know. It is real conundrum. That's why I actually think that the nuclear plant, if that proves to be successful and useful, really might be the answer long term, because it takes up. It's not, obviously, if it explodes or you had a leak, it'd be a problem, but that seems to be pretty rare, and these kind of really safe under the ground. So the reactors and everything are underground, so you have everything below ground, and then just the administration buildings and the switch yards and stuff are on top. But anyway, that's an issue, Tina, and we're getting more and more data every day, and that was something that we talked about at TVA, that was going to be the issue. And well, I'm not sure I do either, Tina, but in this case, he's put the money up. He's just, well, I guess they're not together anymore, but Melinda, they pretty much vowed to give away all their money before they die. And he's invested in this because they've convinced him, at least at this point, that it's might be the future. So he's given a shot. TVA was going to put one of these in, and I worked on some of that project indirectly, because we had a lease with the state on some property to allow hunting, and they closed it off because they were doing the paperwork and the NEPA work and all that to check the site. And the site had been cleared years ago for a nuclear reactor. That's why it was built there. Phil would probably remember if he's still in here, but it was called the Clinch Breeder Reactor, is what everybody knew it as. So they were thinking about putting a couple of these mini units down there, and I don't know what they're going to do now if they've decided. The key to those things is they're safer, they're less expensive, and it takes less time to put them in and get them approved and all that sort of thing. Yes, babe, I would love that. And if you could do something with that, and when I get through here, I'd be more than happy to eat. Yeah, they called it the breeder reactor because it was a different form of reactor, and it created its own breeder, as in, it created its own fuel. Once they got it started, hey, Ian, that picked Ian right back up. Tina says, I guarantee the government has put up at least as much tax money, and the government will be on the hook for any liability. Well, I'm sure that's true. Or the power company out there that owns it, and the government, I'm sure, has probably stepped in too. So, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong about that. I don't know all the details yet, but it's an interesting project. I can't remember what that river. It might be the Provo River. There you can see the different colors in the mountainside. And let me go through some of these faster. Oh, that's Mark's clawfoot tub. I took that for Brenda. See, the old clawfoot tub. Brenda would like to have this in the house to soak in. That's Caitlin, and this is the famous Hank dog that has chicken duty. I have a picture of him guarding the chickens here in a minute. That's one of Mark's saddles. This is the living room of the house and apparently one of his working areas. This long arrow right here is for an adeladdle. And we did throw an adeladdle a couple of times while I was out there. This is unusual for Hank. He took right to Caitlin. I mean, just first night, or maybe the second night, but I think the first night he was on her lap. He doesn't usually do that. But she was in his spot, for one thing. That's where he lays on the couch at night. And he just got up in her lap and laid down. And this was my newest best buddy right here. This is Gigi. And she's Mark's Vizsla. And turns out I was in her spot, apparently. She didn't get she did get up my lap a time or two, but she laid on me most of the time I was there, not when I was sitting down, and became quite the friend. And this is the famous Boudreaux Campbell laying on the famous Mark Zorn's lap. That was his favorite spot, apparently. And when government has waived all liability for, or the government for 75 years, so like some other new. Yeah, like I said, I don't know, Tina, about all those details yet. I would like to know that, but I don't know. I think that's going to be an answer to some of the problems we've got now with what we have. You're in the spot where I lay, so I will lay on you. I was sitting there one night, Tina, and one of the other dogs had gotten in that spot and was, laying on me or leaning on me or wanting petted. It might have been Zoe, which I haven't shown you yet. And so Gigi gets up on me from the other side, and she starts climbing and she starts circling. And the next thing I know, her butt's right here. And she eases on down and she gets down and squeezes Zoe out until she gets back in her spot. I wish I had it on film. But Boudreaux liked his spot. And this was probably I don't know what I was doing here. That's Gigi again. I got better pictures of her. That's Zoe. That's their oldest dog currently. And I don't know why that picture's in there, the Wi-Fi stuff. Oh, I know why. We were trying to hook up our tablets. This is out Mark's back door, basically. And you can see what a view they've got from there. It goes way over to these mountains ranges or these ridges. And this right here are his two mares. And that's the new filly right there. That's Luna. He's still got the boys. He's got 4 or 5 other horses that actually belong to Sammy, his son, his stepson or whatever. And but he's got them fenced out so they can't harass the foal right now. And that's just another wide angle view from the house. He's actually got a workshop in here. He's got some barns out back. I might have pictures of that in a minute. That's Hank. You can't see him real well. There you go. But that's Hank standing. This is his side of the chicken coop, and he's guarding the chickens. That's what he does all day long. He stands there or he lays down, but he watches the chickens almost constantly. He takes some other rounds occasionally and goes and get a drink or go to the bathroom or whatever, but most of the time he's standing right there. And I don't have a picture of her, I'm afraid, but the new dog, Penny, she stays on the other side and she mimics him. It's funny. So she's learning the trade. There's a little bit better picture actually of him standing there. There's the Vizsla. That's Gigi. And she just decided that I had a comfortable leg to lay on. Can't really see it here, and that's my walking stick. Can't really see it here, but this is a skull, a reproduction, a molded copy of a real Smilodon saber-toothed cat skull that Mark had gotten Caitlin for a Christmas or a birthday or something. And unfortunately, the trip up shook his teeth out, the two big teeth. And they've got to glue those back in. I got to get a picture of that when they do, because it's cool thing. I'd like to have one. Hint, hint, hint. Unlike cats, they say, if I fits, I sits. That's it. That is exactly it. They will make room or they'll lay on you. There she is. You talking about me? You can't really see it good, but her nose is all scarred up, and Mark was worried about that when we got home because it'd been on there a couple of days. But then we figured out what they were doing. They were hunting voles, VOLEs, out in the field, and they were catching them and eating them, or at least some of them were eating them. And Penny was out there catching them. She would do the mouse jump, we used to call it, where they hunt and they find one, and then foxes will jump straight up and land on them and grab what they're hunting. And she was doing that too. Most dogs do that, I think, or can do that. Front yard, and there's the railroad right over here. I believe this picture actually is showing Ozzy, the female great horned owl that stays in their trees a lot. Well, I think the next picture is a better one. There she is. See her right there? That's Ozzy. No, Harriet. Excuse me, Harriet. Ozzy was there later in the week, and I'm not sure if I've got a picture of him or not. He's smaller. She's a bigger bird, quite a bit bigger, actually. I got several pictures there, but they're all pretty much the same. Caitlin may have taken some of these for me. But there she is, all puffed up, sitting there on a tree limb and not really in the sun, but just kind of guarding her domain. Now, their grandkids came over that morning after we took these, and they kind of hung around underneath her and were looking at her and talking a lot, so she finally left. By the end of the week, they were back. It's okay, Ian. That's a little better. These are all a little bit blurry. Probably standing out there trying to hold the camera. Can you guys hear that? Now, most of that was Mark calling and squawking at her, but in a minute, she started answering him back and looking at him and squawking at him. Just made the exact same sound. They do more than just hoot, I guess, is the bottom line. Okay, I got to get through these because it's getting late. Anyway, that's more pictures of Harriet. And this was actually a little video of the bird feeder activity of one bird feeder. There's a couple out here, and then there's some on the other side of the house as well. If you look closely, you can see yellow. This is a red-winged blackbird. I'm not sure what that one was. Some of these are other red wings. That's a house finch or English sparrow or house sparrow. There were yellow-headed blackbirds out here, and that's what I really wanted to. There's one right there. No, maybe not. Or the light's hitting it funny. It looked yellow. It might be an immature, but I'd never seen yellow-headed blackbirds before. They had quite a few of them. I don't know if this is the same thing. I'm not going to play much of that, but I don't know if you can see. They were very busy. their bird feeders are pretty much swarmed every day. Didn't get to see any hummingbirds while I was out there. They're probably already gone for the year. So you've seen most of these. Antelope, pronghorn. We saw quite a few of those out riding around. This was we were headed out towards the rim out here, which is another place they found some turtles and some other skeletal or fossilized remains. Whoop, that didn't need to go in there. There was a bad word in there. She is making me lunch, and I don't want to be too late for lunch. But there's my buddy. I was laying there in the blanket one night, and she just, wasn't going to miss that. And Zoe, can't believe I didn't get a picture of the new pup. It's just, this is what it looks like looking off the rim. That's a moonshiner's cabin. This is a leftover from Prohibition days. People out there, and I've read about this and seen it in movies actually. There were people out in the West, out in the middle of nowhere, that brewed whiskey during Prohibition and sold it to people like Scarface, Al Capone, and his group, and then they took it back east and sold it in the speakeasies and whatnot. But that's what this was. This was a still house left over from the late 20s, whenever Prohibition started. It started in the 20s, I believe, and then ended in the early 30s after Franklin got into office. Some more aspens. More inside the cabin. I like this picture. I thought this turned out kind of nice. For a guy with a camera phone in his phone. Man, I wish I'm going to get me a new camera. I believe this point represents a place where Caitlin found a turtle. A fossil, I think. Mark's got some, those are antelope vertebrae. I can't remember if those probably weren't very old. I just took this picture of this thistle because it was so bright purple out there in the otherwise brown and light green. It just sort of stood out. I thought that was neat the way these aspens are on the side of that hill. One of those pictures is going to make a new background for me, I think, or maybe a lot of them. And that's what they look like all down through that side of that ridge. So it would have been a good place to see a moose, maybe even an elk, but we didn't. Guess who that was? But we didn't really see any down through there. But we drove a lot on this kind of road during the week to show me country. And I have to be honest, it about beat me to death. But it was good. I'm glad we went. This is an early homesteader's cabin that's no longer used. I can't remember if that one marked. It was like one of them we looked at still had a sign on it that it was maybe still being used. The land was still being used. I must have been standing in one spot turning. There's a whole bunch of antelope out there, but you can't really see them. More white. I like this picture too a lot. In fact, I think I used one of these in my show. Stopped here, pulled in, we turned around, but one reason we did was this gate. This is the Diamond H Ranch. And some of those cattle we just saw were branded with the Diamond H. I think that big Hereford cow, that red cow a minute ago, was Diamond H. Because Mark called its owner. That's a picture of that fossil fuel plant near Kemmerer. You can see it from a different angle. These are called sheep herder Karens. And if you really look, I don't know if we can see one here, but somewhere on this ridge over here, there'll be another one. And what these do is they sort of delineate where property is. Like one side of this may be open to sheep grazing and the other side isn't. And the sheep herders they have, which are mostly from Spain or Mexico or Chile or Peru, and I've got a picture here just in a minute. But you can see these. I think I've got another picture here that shows another one in the distance, but I might not have. That's Caitlin taking a picture of her old man. This is called the buffalo jump. And this prehistoric man actually forced buffalo to run. And this was their only escape, was this direction. And then when they got there, it was a straight down drop. And they bounced and rolled and died or were killed when they got to the bottom. And they ran hundreds, thousands of buffalo off this thing over time. So this area is full of buffalo remains, pieces of bone and that sort of thing. And you can really see, I thought was cool was you can see that delineation of green rock, red rock, a grayer rock, and all these layers have different things in it. But all of this is just littered with buffalo, prehistoric buffalo bones. Oh, shoot. It was really cool. That's not fossilized, but that is a old. We decided that was an antelope skull. I've got another picture, but that's the teeth, and that animal may have died just of old age because the teeth were really worn down. But that was probably 200 or 300 years old, judging by the wear. We think this hole may have been where it was knocked in the head. Maybe it came over the jump. Maybe it didn't. Or they may have cut this hole in its head to get the brains out because they use brains for a lot of things. Sequoia nuclear plant in Tennessee. Since 1970 has a production capacity of 2440 megawatts with so many coal plants shut down. It's good to have the dependability. Yeah, it is, and we'd be in trouble without those when you start shutting coal ones down. And a lot of people are employed by these things, by nuclear plants and nuclear power, but there's more, I guess, when you figure out how many people are employed by mining coal and then burning the coal. And that's one of the controversial things about this nuke plant out there. That's where you have to make some tough decisions, I guess, and figure out, which way the current takes you. Okay, I gotta hurry. I gotta get done here. There's a couple more shots. This is Mark's favorite place in the whole wide world is this valley. And we're just on the other side of where we were at earlier. And this is where these are the sheep herder caravans. This is what they live in when they're out there. This back wagon hooked to the camper caravan sleeping area wagon has got hay and water and stuff like that for the animals. And these guys have sheep. And there's their sheep dogs. There's one right there, and there's one right there. At least two of them. And when we get up here, we didn't see it till we got by it, but here's this horse. The herders ride horses in a lot of these places, so that's the sheep herder's horse. And this is on the way back. I'm almost done. This is on the way back. You can see how much more color there is on the mountains. Oh my God, who is that guy? I don't even remember taking that picture, but obviously I did. That's probably a view nobody wants. And a lot of people think electricity is made by Disney, as in it's magic, but it's mostly coal. So when you plug in your car, you're still burning. Yeah, you're still using fossil fuels unless you're running nuclear. And we're in the truck going back downhill to Salt Lake City. And I think this is probably the end. I just thought the colors were really great coming through the canyon. That one wasn't very good. And these have a lot of smudges on them because of the windows. But still, you get an idea. And tether. So that means that's the end. So I'm going to stop that and escape from that and say, that is it, guys. That was all I had. Jeff has spent his career in the power industry. It's a huge concern that most folks are unaware of. Well, they're unaware of it because they don't want to think about it. There's some tough decisions to be made there. It is beautiful country, Tina, and I do understand why Mark loves it so much. I miss my trees, but and I miss these mountains back here, but it's just a whole nother world. I'd love to go out there and spend more time when I was more mobile. That would be the great part. If I could do that, it'd be amazing. But anyway, guys, I'm going to let you guys go eat your lunches or whatever you have to do next. You may already be doing that, and watch some football or whatever you're going to do today on a Saturday. Like I said, Tennessee's not playing, so I'm going to watch for other games. Big game tonight for this part of the country is Kentucky is playing Georgia, which could be an awful game or a really good game. And so far, they're both unbeaten. So they're 4-4 or 5-5. Texas A&M is playing Alabama, and if they beat Alabama today, that's probably going to knock Alabama out of any contention whatsoever for any kind of titles this year, which has been pretty unusual the last 10 or 15 years. It was, Tina. It was great to get back in my own bed, and I was worn out. It was great. I'd like to do it again and not be so pressed to do, the stuff we had to do early on. But that was necessary, and that's the reason I went out there. I went out there to just be by Mark's side and help him get through a tough situation. And mission accomplished. We did that, and we brought his daughter home, and that was the main thing. Caitlin had been there to visit a time or two, but she had been gone. She'd basically been gone from Mark's life on a day-to-day basis for 10 years, or about 10 years. And it all had to do with Mark's ex and getting her to go with her back to Texas or El Paso. And up until that point, Mark had taken care of Caitlin just about full time. She was with him all the time. I've mentioned before, she got to ride to work with him. She was at work with him for a long time. She got to ride in his truck with him. So they were together a lot. So he really has missed her. And I think that's why this trip was so important and so stressful for him, was to get down there, get her out, bring her back home, and have her at home for a while. I think he hopes that really helps her, and I think it will. She's a wonderful young lady. She's smart. Oh, she's so smart. She just has some social issues that she needs to work on, but I'm glad she's home. I'm glad Mark gets to be with her for a while longer. She's an adult. She could leave again, but at least it'll be under her terms, not somebody else's. Well, you're welcome, Dawn. Thank you for dropping by and coming in. And everybody else, I'm sure a lot of you will be watching your favorite Saturday streamers, whoever they may be. And don't forget the Hitchhiking Bones are on every Tuesday night. And I'm not sure, Dawn, you're welcome to post anything or let me know anything if you're going to be on any other time this week. Carol or Tina or somebody can post links to their website if you want to. Be fine with me. And but everybody have a great weekend. what's left of it so far, and it's just starting. And if you're watching TV or watching football, I hope your favorite team wins, unless it's somebody that I'm pulling for. Then you're out of luck. Carroll, Michigan's got a big game today. Alaska, what? Oh, Ashoka. Oh, what about Ashoka? I need to watch that too, Tina, if that's what you're saying. I'm behind on Ashoka, so I need to either finish it or catch up or whatever. But I think it's over. I think they've run its season, so I got to. Brennan and I have only watched one or two. We got to catch up. Yeah, Hitchhiker chats every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern. And everybody go over and visit with Dawn. There's always, I'm afraid I'm usually headed to bed lately or upstairs with Brenda at least. So I've missed a lot. So, but I definitely recommend it. So go by there and see them. So anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Love you all. Please take care. And I think Mark may be back next Saturday unless he's got a hunter in town. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.